So I think I've been relegated to the nuts and bolts guy, so bear with me. I'll try and do it quickly. But we do want to explain what we've done. There are people out here who aren't a part of the group, haven't heard this before, and as everybody said, we want to encourage others to go out and do it, so we have to give you some basics, kind of the Cliff Notes for community solar. There are 5 conditions first that need to be met to make it work well. The first is obviously you have to have people who want to reduce their carbon footprint, who want to use renewable energy or produce it in some form. And as you heard 2.5 years ago, Dave and Anya said, let's get some people in University Park together. We had about 35 people in a room, and out of that we developed a working group and said, let's try and do it. I think that's a credit to the community that we live in, that there's been so much interest and that this is actually happening. The second condition that needs to be met are the political and legal structures that help encourage it and make it feasible. There's a federal grant. The way this works, we're doing $130,000 investment. Once it's up and running, sometime in the next year, we will get 30% of that back from the federal government, and that is not taxable income. The second are the renewable energy credits. And these are certificates. For every 1,000 kilowatts, you get 1 renewable energy credit. And these represent, this is kind of a bonus to people who produce clean energy. It represents the kind of social quality that you've created. And you can then sell these on the market. And that's a source of income. And that's really encouraged by the state. Then you have net metering, which is also really run by the state, which requires the utility to credit the host for the electricity on their bill. Now we've gone, as been discussed, a step further, because the way it was going to work up till just a couple months ago was the church doesn't use all the electricity, probably won't use all the electricity that is going to be generated. And they would get a credit on their bill, and they would actually have a negative bill. And at the end of 12 months, if that month's credit isn't used, it would have just gone away. We would have contributed it to the grid and gotten no compensation for that. We're producing that at peak usage times, the middle of the day in summer, when the utility is charging their customers the most. It made no sense. We were very fortunate, Senator Pinsky in our community, and we simply sent him an email telling him this story. He came back and changed the law. And so we helped together to change that law in Annapolis. So now we will get paid for that energy. In fact, we'll get a little extra because it's done at peak hours. The final, I'm not going to go into depreciation. It's been mentioned. I'm going to stay away from that. But you can depreciate the system, and this flows through to the members. Maybe they can use it, maybe they can't, but eventually we think they can. No more said about that. The third condition is you have to form a business entity, and it became clear very quickly that we needed to form an LLC. We also learned that this is limited liability company. We learned that it really, the LL stood for lessons learned. We quickly learned about bylaws and how complicated that can be to create. We learned about contracts. You heard about the PPA contract. We also have a contract with Standard Solar. And then we signed members. And the really wonderful thing has been getting the members has been the easiest part of the entire project. It's been wonderful. You all have been great. Now, the fourth one, we won't discuss much. You have to have a roof. You have to have a partner. We looked at about 5 different ones, including the University Town Center. They thought they were interested. There were some others. The church then said, 2 members were active with our group, said, we'd like to, look at us. We're not real big, but look at us. Well, I have to say that at that time, our group maybe was a little unrealistic in thinking that we would do a very large system on the school or on another building. But we quickly sobered up and we thought, this is perfect. We'll get it going. We'll show that it can be done. We'll be able to manage it, more importantly. And we said yes to the church, and the rest is history there. The 5th condition is that you need to have an installer. And Lee Bristol will be speaking shortly. And we have a contract they have produced. Now we're waiting on the utility to do the final connection. Now, that being said, here's generally how it works. The church supplies the roof. They enter into a contract with us to purchase electricity. It's a good deal for them. They don't pay anything for the system, and they knock down what they pay for energy by 2 cents kilowatt hour, so it saves them money. They enter into a 20-year contract, and I might mention that these cells are guaranteed. I'm not sure whether it's 15 or 20 years, but they last long beyond that. But the contract is 20 years with the church to buy our electricity, and they have an option to buy it from us also, so that they can own it outright. And then we can go on and do another one. The community solar group pays Standard Solar to build the system. We own the system. The church pays us for the electricity. We get money from the federal grant. We get money from the rec sales. And all of this passes through just minor operating expenses to the members. So in the end, the members get a 7 to 8% annualized return. It's not huge, you're not gambling, but it's a nice steady return these days when you look at your options. The bottom line to all of this is that this system on this roof the EPA says that for every kilowatt hour of energy produced by utilities, on the average throughout the country, each kilowatt hour produces 1.341 pounds of CO2. This system will reduce the CO2 usage or production that would have happened had we bought from the utility, or the church bought from the utility, by 38,000 pounds per year. That's 380 tons over the 20-year life of the contract. That's 10 tons that the average member investor is saving going into the atmosphere. The average investment is $4,000. Over the 20 years, you're eliminating 10 tons. So that's the story. I applaud you all for doing that. And now Lee Bristol has a few words, and I just want to say that Standard Solar, and Lee Bristol particularly, has been so patient with us. As David said, he has, I don't know how many phone calls he has gotten and answered, or quite often just picks up the phone, you don't even have to leave a message. How many meetings he's attended. We really thank him for that, and we're just glad that we're able to produce in the end.